The 32 teams going to the World Cup in the winter in Qatar are now set and booked, locked in. Australia and Costa Rica have just won their playoff matches over the last week. And today on It's Called Soccer, we are going to go through each group, crown a winner and a second place team to go on to the knockout rounds. And guys, this is like no other prediction video for the World Cup that you've seen. We are going to go through each group, the knockout rounds, and finally crown a winner of the 2022 Qatar World Cup. Hey everyone, my name is Jake and this is It's Called Soccer. If you love the sport, if you want to help it grow, and if you want to help the channel out, make sure to subscribe. That does a huge amount for the YouTube algorithm to show this to more people. And if we could get 300 likes for this video, that would be absolutely amazing. So I think you guys are going to love this production. I am really excited to dive into each group. But before we start, we just need to hear a quick word from our sponsors, BetOnline. BetOnline is your #1 source for online betting. They have every sport imaginable, from the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, to the future fixtures of the NFL, as well as a place to bet on this upcoming World Cup that we are going to talk about. So if you guys want a 50% sign up bonus and you want to help this channel out, make sure to go to betonline.ag from either your computer or your mobile device and put in the code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, and get betting. But please gamble responsibly. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, and let's get this game started because I cannot wait to break down these groups. Okay, so Group A is termed the Group of Life, but this is actually quite a strong group. We have Qatar, who are the hosts. Only South Africa have been the hosts that haven't advanced out of the group stage. That might happen again with Qatar, although they do have a team that is essentially made up of players from only two club squads. So they have impeccable chemistry. They have great coaching facilities, great coaches. So I think Qatar are probably going to do well. It's just, are they going to be good enough to get that second or third spot? I am going to crown the winner of this group as Senegal, just because of Mendy in goal, Sadio Mane on the wings. They have Koulibaly as a center back, and they have players like Idrissa Gueye from PSG all over the pitch in every position. So I just think Senegal, for the most part, are the strongest team. Obviously, the Netherlands is kind of your pick for the Eurocentric people, but for me, the Netherlands have kind of fallen off a little bit over the last few years. They haven't done super well in the Euros. I don't believe they made the last World Cup either, along with Italy. So I just think the Netherlands are in a bit of a rebuild. They're going to need their full squad and their full squad's attention and effort to be in form for this World Cup. I think Frankie de Jong, players like that, Virgil van Dijk, they have good players, right? Georgie Wijnaldum, everyone is there in the Netherlands, but it just doesn't seem to be clicking for them as a team. Now, Ecuador is really interesting. I feel like that's the wild card in this group. There are kind of two wild cards, right? Qatar and Ecuador are two teams that could conceivably get out of this group. But I just think if I'm a betting man, which I am absolutely not, I'm going to pick the Netherlands as the second team here. Although I really think either of these two squads, Ecuador and Qatar, can surprise a lot of people. I'm going to put Qatar as number 3 because I do think there's a lot to be said about playing in your home country, having all of the fans behind you, and having a squad that essentially plays for one or two club teams across. So they have really great chemistry, like I talked about. I think that's going to count for something. So Group A is Senegal, Netherlands, Qatar, and Ecuador. All right, Group B, we have England, Iran, USA, and Wales after beating Ukraine. Whew, as a US fan, as a US person that wants to root for the USA in this World Cup, I was really worried about having Ukraine in this group because the entire world would be behind Ukraine, and I really didn't want to go into any games really rooting for any other team or any other feel-good stories other than the US. And this is going to be such an interesting group, not counting all of the kind of underlying political stories, underlying world stories and world event stories between Iran, USA, between England and USA and Wales too. I mean, USA is a former colony. Wales is part of the United Kingdom along with England and are on the same island. They share a border. So for me, and I live in London as well right now, so I kind of have like all of these mixed emotions looking at this group. Now, if you had asked me before the Costa Rica and Australia playoffs, I would have easily put England at the top of this group, but they are not having a great time in their Nations League right now. They're at the bottom of the table in their Nations League group. They have lost to Hungary twice. I believe they tied Germany. So it's not going well for England. They have not won a match since the USA qualified for the World Cup. Now, Iran is a really interesting team, a team that has a lot of veterans and players that have played together for a long time. They had a very successful World Cup qualifying campaign, only losing one match. When they did win, it was really only 1-0. There were slim margins, but at the same time, it has to be said, you can only play the teams that are in front of you. So for Iran to win all those matches to qualify easily from the Asian Federation, I think they're going to be a dangerous team. USA, so volatile, right? They have players like Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams. I could go on and on about all these players that are Champions League quality and under 23 years old. I think that goes both ways, right? We have the best, I should say, we have the most talented team that we've ever had. But because they're young, they're inexperienced, if we go to the World Cup without John Brooks or DeAndre Yedlin, nobody on this roster will have ever experienced a World Cup before for the US. And that is crazy. I really think that counts for something. Because the squads were expanded to 26 players, I feel like Yedlin just gets a place just because he has that experience and he can be a veteran presence. Now, Wales, on the other hand, very good, solid team, but they are going to play very defensively. And I don't necessarily know about England and Iran, but the US is not great at breaking down low blocks. So to play against a team like Wales with Dan James and Gareth Bale on the wings, that might be able to hurt us in the counterattack. Now, I am going to do something crazy, and I hope it's not super homerism, but because England is doing so poorly in terms of their form, Iran isn't doing as well either in their friendlies that they've had. Wales just barely squeaked by in the playoff to get to the World Cup. The US, I believe, I do believe that we will win. I'm putting the US to win this group. And this is going to be crazy, but Iran always shows up in World Cups. I just want to pick Iran or Wales for this number 2, but I think it will be England. I think they'll get it together before the World Cup. They've kind of gotten their bad performances out, and I don't know if Gareth Southgate is going to be the coach by the time the World Cup wraps around, but I think this is how it's going to play out. USA number 1, England number 2, Wales 3, and Iran number 4. Group C gets a little bit easier to predict, at least for the winner. I mean, I don't even have to talk about all 4 of these teams to say that Argentina is inarguably the best team in this group. Lionel Messi, but so many players. They have an incredible squad around them, and they're in form. I mean, they crushed Italy in the Finalissima. I definitely said that wrong. Argentina is on a roll right now. They come from the CONMEBOL Conference, which is not easy to qualify from. Messi needs to win a World Cup, right? He needs to win a World Cup to solidify his legacy. I feel like Argentina are going to cruise through this group. Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland. Okay, here's the thing. Saudi Arabia plays a great style. They like to play possession. They're an interesting team, but I think they're going to come in 4th in this group. For me, I feel like Mexico is going to place 2nd in this group. Now, if you've been following CONCACAF at all, Mexico barely qualified as well as the US, and they have not had a great time either in the last few years. They lost 2 finals to the US last summer in the Gold Cup and the Nations League final. They had a really difficult World Cup qualifying campaign. They've just got smacked by Uruguay 3-0 in, what's considered home, but it was really Texas. I feel like Mexico on merit and talent will get by Poland, but Poland is, if Robert Lewandowski comes up big in one of these games or 2 of these games, it could easily be Poland. I really think they're 50-50, they're neck and neck. But I'm going Argentina, Mexico, Poland, and Saudi Arabia for Group C. Group D is, again, for me, I think it's a little bit easier to predict, honestly. To have France, Australia, Denmark, and Tunisia in one group, there are two clear winners in this group, and that is France and Denmark. Tunisia is on the come up, but really their talent is kind of lower level Liga, Bundesliga talent. Australia really probably should not have won that playoff match against Peru, and it didn't show me too much in the game that they are going to bring any quality of note, at least in this group, right? Like, if they were in maybe Group A, they could have a better chance, but having France and Denmark to get through, both top 10, I think Denmark's ranked number 11 right now, but essentially both top 12 ranked teams, and then you have Australia and Tunisia. I think it's going to be France, Denmark, Tunisia, and Australia in Group D. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how it'll end up. And guys, if you haven't commented down below already to tell me that I am either a genius or a complete idiot, you need to do that right now, because I'm going to respond to every single comment in the comment section to see what you guys think in these. And again, I think it's going to be more of why I'm an idiot and why I'm wrong and why it's called football over soccer. That gets into everything, but tell me down below what you think is going to happen in the World Cup. Now, Group E is really interesting because we have Spain, Costa Rica, Germany, and Japan. Okay, so a few years ago, England thought they had an easy group, but Costa Rica topped the group and came out number 1. Spain always shows up for World Cups, but they do have a weird kind of pendulum where they have a lot of older veteran players, they have a lot of really exciting younger players, right? Players that need experience, but really exciting, really exciting players in Spain. Then you have Germany, who has probably fallen off from their pedestal a little bit as the undisputed best in the world. But at the same time, again, talent all across the pitch, varying ages and veterans versus young players. But you can never count out goalkeeping in the World Cup, especially in a group stage. To have Manuel Neuer back in net, and then to have your midfield be like Goretzka, Kimmich, Gundogan, I mean, Timo Werner up top, Kai Havertz, Sané, Gnabry, like the list goes on for Germany, right? So I feel like Germany is going to take this. Now, Japan, again, kind of throws a little bit of a wrench into the plans of these other teams. I also think Costa Rica will play really well against Spain and Germany because they always are up for it. They're always up for it in the World Cup. They like to stay back and counterattack. That's going to play against Germany and Spain, how they want to hold possession and throw numbers forward. Now, Japan, on the other hand, will probably have to do that just because of the quality of Germany and Spain. But at the same time, they do like to play a little bit more on the front foot. I'm going to put Germany and Spain through to the knockout rounds, with Japan finishing 3rd and Costa Rica finishing 4th. I'm sorry, my CONCACAF brothers, but similar to Australia, I didn't see a ton of quality from you in the playoffs, and you really got in hot form to be able to get into the playoffs. Initially, you won like 4 or 5 straight games to end qualifying to actually get into that 4th playoff spot. But yeah, for me, Germany and Spain are the clear winners in this group. Okay, let's talk about Group F now, because we have Belgium, Canada, Morocco, and Croatia. I'm not even going to talk about anything before I put Belgium at number 1. And the reason is because Canada is going to be back in the World Cup for the first time in a lot of years, a lot of years. But they have a really interesting team. Obviously, Alphonso Davies from Bayern Munich is kind of the best known player, but they crushed it in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying. They won out over Mexico and the US and Costa Rica, all those other teams. So they did a really good job, and I think their coach, John Herdman, will have them playing up to the level of competition. So Canada's really interesting. I'm going to paint that picture first. Morocco. Again, before any of these teams played any exhibitions, I probably would have put Morocco at number 2 or Croatia. Now, Morocco got smacked by the US 3-0. They have Achraf Hakimi. They have quality in a lot of different places. But I really didn't see it when they played against the US. That could have been because they were on like 3 days of travel. Could have been because they were playing away from home. Could have been because it was the tail end of the season. But at the same time, all of that is somewhat true for the US team that played against them. And yet they just laid down and died against the US and lost 3-0. Now, Croatia, the finalists from the last World Cup, lost against France in the final. All of those players are aged now. And while they have all those players still, obviously Modric is kind of the best known and really a metronome for the squad. What else is there that isn't over 33, 34 years old? And that can get really difficult when you're playing in a World Cup, quick turnaround. But again, because Morocco is slacking off a little bit, Canada is such a wild card, I don't know. I can really go like 33% on each of these teams. I'm going to do something crazy because I really think John Herdman is a coach that will do really well in a tournament style where he needs to get his team elevated and playing up to the competition. I'm going to put Canada at number 2. Now, this could easily be wrong. I really don't feel confident in this one, but I'm going to put Morocco and then Croatia. So Group F for me is Belgium, Canada, Morocco, and Croatia. Okay, almost through the groups. We have Group G and Group H. So Group G has Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon. Brazil is one of the best teams in the world right now, and the best coming out of CONMEBOL, even over Argentina, I think. I'm going to put them at number 1. They have the pedigree. They've won 5 World Cups so far, but they also have just players in their prime. Alisson, Neymar, Rafinha, stacked midfield, stacked defense. Like, Brazil is a quality team everywhere you look on the pitch, and they have the experience and the wherewithal to understand what's at stake in these World Cups. Now, Serbia doesn't really scare me. Cameroon is not the Cameroon of old. They really don't have a ton of quality. When I look at the African Conference and the African region, I really feel like Senegal is clear of every other African nation. Switzerland, for me, takes number 2, with Cameroon and Serbia closing out Group G. So Group G for me is Brazil, Switzerland, Cameroon, and Serbia. All right, and here we have it, the last group, and then we'll get into the knockout rounds. We have Group H is Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and Korea. So Portugal, for me, is probably the best team in this group. Now, Uruguay definitely has a case, especially if Luis Suarez can get healthy. You have a front line of Luis Suarez, Edinson Cavani, Darwin Nunez. And then you have really great defending players, Godin, Muslera in goal. I feel like those are top 2 of the teams, but South Korea has some really good players, and their team is stacked with Bundesliga talent. And then you have Son thrown in there, which is just, if he can get hot, if he can get in form, nobody knows what will happen to this South Korean team. And again, I really wasn't impressed with Uruguay when they played their exhibition against the US. Now, I haven't really touched on Ghana because they're not the Ghana of old, the Ghana that has haunted the US's nightmares in the knockout rounds throughout the last few World Cups. They really don't have the quality that they used to when they were haunting the US in these knockout rounds. So I'm going to put Portugal at number 1, South Korea at number 2, Uruguay at number 3, and Ghana at number 4. Now, round of 16, this is where it gets interesting. So the first match 49 of the knockout rounds, would be Senegal and England. I really feel like England's quality is going to win out here, but Senegal is stacked with talent, and they are ready to play against a team like England. To think about all the players that actually do play in England for a club. I mean, Mendy on Chelsea, Mane on Liverpool. He'll probably transfer to Bayern Munich by the time you watch this. But again, they have talent all over the pitch. This, to me, is much more of a 50-50 than you would expect. But I am going to go with England. I live in London. I know they're downtrodden right now, but they have so much quality. They have too much quality to not get through this match. England on to the round of 8. Okay, match 50, the next knockout round is Argentina-Denmark. This one for me is pretty clear cut. I'm going to put Argentina through against Denmark. Now, Denmark has really done well in the last Euros, but I'm going to take that as a one-off. Obviously, they have quality on their team, but really it's no match for the quality of Argentina. They're both going to be out of their regions, uncomfortable. I feel like Argentina takes this match against Denmark. Wow. Okay, this knockout now, USA versus Netherlands. Honestly, guys, if you looked at the forms and if you looked at the squads and where these players play, I really feel like, again, it's not homerism to say the US has a really good chance against this Netherlands squad. And if it's a one-game knockout, I'm choosing the boys, okay? I'm choosing the 50 stars. The United States of America is on to the round of 8. We're going with it, okay? France and Mexico, please. It's France. France over Mexico every day of the week. This Mexico, for anyone that's not from the CONCACAF region, if you're not American, if you're not Mexican, if you're not Canadian, and you're watching this, Mexico has Raul Jimenez, obviously Chucky Lozano. They have good attacking players. Their front three is the best in CONCACAF. But everywhere else on the pitch and their coach, So I'm going to pick France over Mexico, and I really don't think there's a question in that. Okay, next up, Germany, Canada. Again, Canada is such a wild card. They will get up for this game, and they will play Germany toe-to-toe. But the German machine is just going to be too much for Canada, and they are going to be on to the round of 8. Brazil and South Korea in this knockout round stage. Again, I don't think I'm going to take too many of the underdogs here. Brazil is going to beat South Korea in a one-round knockout. Belgium, Spain. Throw some spice on this one. Okay, Belgium, Spain. Belgium is one of the best teams, one of the best national teams in the world right now. Spain is in kind of a transition period, but they have that quality about them that every time they enter an international tournament, they are going to do something special. And Belgium, on the other hand, seems to be the opposite. They have incredible talent. They have a great team, but they're never able to put it together. They're never able to reach their expectation or their potential. But I do think in this game, with the round of 8 on the line, I'm going to pick Belgium over Spain. And then the last knockout round of 16 that we're going to pick is Portugal, Switzerland. I'm going to go with Portugal here. Too much pedigree on this Portuguese team. You can never count out Ronaldo. Even when he's 57 years old, he's still going to be playing in these World Cups. I'm going to pick Portugal over Switzerland, and that rounds out our group of 8 to go to the knockouts. Okay, the quarterfinals. What a matchup we have here. England versus Argentina. Okay, I feel like I'm going to do this based on England's form in the Nations League, Argentina's form, Argentina's pedigree. They have the talent. On paper, these teams are very close, but I just have a feeling that Argentina is going to be special in this World Cup. Argentina takes it over England to get to the semifinals. All right, next up, a rematch of the 7-1 drubbing of Brazil and Germany. Wow, I could not have picked this to work out better. So Germany and Brazil are going to meet each other in the quarterfinals. I'm going to pick Brazil here. I just have a feeling that these South American teams are just in a better place to take over a World Cup and have the talent and the pedigree, the history to take over. I know Brazil has 5 wins in the World Cup, Germany has 4, but recently it's Brazil. It's Brazil over the last few years. Okay, this is probably where my homerism comes to die. This would be a really interesting matchup, honestly, having USA versus France, but for me, in these games, and once we get to these quarterfinal matchups, talent is going to be so overwhelming. The piece of the moment, the expectations of the moment, the emotions of the moment aren't going to be enough for the U.S. to overcome France. I'm picking France here. That is where the 50 states come to die in the quarterfinals. But you know what? If they get to the last 8, I'll be very happy with that, going into the 2026 World Cup that will be hosted joint Mexico, US, and Canada. All right, and the last quarterfinal matchup is Belgium versus Portugal. Again, like Portugal always overperforms, Belgium always underperforms. I'm going to take that form here. Like, you think about these international tournaments, you think about the Euros, you think about the World Cups. Portugal always gets a little bit further than you expect them to. Belgium never gets as far as you expect them to. So I'm just going to take that for what it is. Portugal over Belgium. And now we have the semi-final matchups. We have Argentina versus Brazil and France versus Portugal. So we have an all South America matchup for the semi-final and an all Europe matchup in the semi-final. Argentina, Brazil, wow. Can you imagine if they met in the semifinals? The banter that would be going back and forth, the fandom that would be going back and forth for this match. I've been riding Argentina a little bit in this video. Brazil, though, like, man, this is such a tight matchup. 50-50% coin flip. I am going to believe in Messi here and pick Argentina over Brazil. I feel like that one is probably one that I could easily get wrong, but I just feel like Argentina has something special brewing in this year's World Cup. Okay, so Argentina is through to the final over Brazil, and now we have France, Portugal. I really feel like Portugal is probably not as good man for man across the 11, across the 18 as France is. Obviously, there's plenty of quality to Portugal. I'm more just saying France is stacked in every position. I mean, they're 4th and 5th on the depth chart that won't even make the World Cup, would be starting for most teams across the landscape. So I'm going to pick France here. And now we have a final matchup in the World Cup 2022 in Qatar between Argentina and France, two teams that have both won the World Cup twice. France as recently as the previous World Cup in Russia. Who is going to take this one? Guys, let me know down below again who you're picking. I got Argentina to win the World Cup. Argentina is going to win the World Cup, and it seems like 18% of people that have picked this World Cup have picked Argentina to win. 1 out of every 5. Let me know if that's your winner down below. But I'm sure I got a lot of controversy through this video. I'm sure you guys have different opinions. Let me know down below in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, if you want to follow along for the World Cup, make sure you subscribe with the alert bell on and like the video so more people can find it. And guys, thank you so much to the Patreons as well for your extra support. Tyler, Christopher, Jeff, Kiko, Moondog, Preston, Vince, Spurs, Michael, Takuya, Bucky, Eddie, Eric, Isaac, Meg, Patrick, and Toby. Thank you guys so much for being Patreons. And guys, if you want to see videos like this early before they drop on YouTube, if you want to see scripts before I even make videos, if you want to see exclusive content like that, you can support the channel for only $2 a month. And it goes towards someone that is independently trying to make it and cover this game and grow the beautiful game in America. So please check out the Patreon, and that would be a huge part of me being able to make more content like this. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time on It's Called Soccer. Peace.